chasing them like a person didn't have hands. And it was like, no hands, man. Surprises criminals with hands. And then I would just like tackle them. And it was like, I don't know why.
Welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
Hello. Hello, Hop. First recorded podcast of the year.
Do you have your Gravity Falls facts available for all our Gravity Falls listeners?
I do. It is... Wait, hold on. We're on episode 4, right? I think so. Hold up. Let me just make sure. I'm pretty sure we're on episode 4. I probably should have checked.
I believe so.
I will know in 1 second as soon as Chrome loads.
Yeah, for all you listeners, apologies. I've been busy, so this is essentially like 2-ish weeks since we last recorded.
It is the 4th episode. Also, yeah, we've been... I know for some people... Ooh, what'd I just click? Get out of here, Firefox View. What the heck are you? What is this? How do I leave you?
Did you get lost?
I accidentally clicked something. There we are. Yeah, it's even though the numbers probably some people are like, oh, that's not a big number. It's like, hey, you know what? We have a consistent number. I didn't. YouTube took too long to load, so I don't know. Okay, hold up. Now it's probably since I mentioned it. Let me check to see if we got any YouTube comments. Because we can do that. And while that loads, hey, Hop, did you know that some of the codes on this show don't have deep meanings as you would expect?
Wow.
Yeah. It's stated in an article at thedaily.com. I don't mind anyway. That throughout the series, Hirsch would hide the number 618. Of course... some of the fans noticed it. They even tried to dive deeper, but it was simply just the numbers of Hirsch and his sister's birthday, June 18th. Deep. We did not get any comments, but
yes, I guess I'll say it now, since we usually say it at the end of the episode, but sometimes we forget to because, well, today in particular, I'm sleepy.
That's what we wanted to say, everybody.
Yes, but if you interact with us in any way at all, reviews, ratings, comments, Twitter, YouTube, we'll give you a shout out because we appreciate you guys for listening, and double appreciate if you interact with us. What do I say? Triple if you share us. Quadruple if... I feel like there's a 4th one. But in any case... Thank you for listening to yet another episode of us rambling about media that we enjoy. Oh, and I guess if you guys stick around long enough, you'll find out that we already have the plans for what we're doing after we finish Gravity Falls.
Yes. It almost... Oh, man. I want to do... It's...
You just want to start it, don't you?
I just want to start... Yeah, because I'm like... we've been friends long enough where you know how my brain is. We get stuck on we bring up something and then it's all my brain can think about, even though I am excited to watch Gravity Falls. But in my head I was like, could we do 2 episodes a week so we can start this new episode, this new thing? Because it'd be balling. I don't know if that's what the kids say anymore. Wait, no. They say it slaps, right?
I think sometimes, or smacks.
Smacks just sounds so gross.
And there's a new term for being like charismatic in terms of being able to pick up people, like for dating wise. I don't know if you've heard of it. W-Riz.
W-Riz. Whiz?
No, like the letter W, like for winning, right? Like you didn't take the L, you got the W, you got the dub, and then the word Riz, R-I-Z-Z.
I'm still trying to figure out why people keep making Ohio jokes. I'm like, what? Why?
We have that in Ohio. It's
Riz?
just like it is in Ohio. No, the joke about Ohio is like, I equate it to being like, oh, it's like we have Batman at home, but it's Batman in Ohio. So it's like the the knockoff, like the sad version. Like, you never heard the joke, "We have it at home." Like,
Yeah,
you're
I
like,
heard
oh,
that.
Yeah, it's like
well,
the same
except it
thing.
wasn't a joke.
The internet now uses it as like, the whole meme format. It's like, we have McDonald's at home. McDonald's at home. It's like a peanut butter sandwich. So it's like,
It's
oh, that's
better
like,
for you.
but it's like, oh, I want a McDonald's. And you see something that's like, oh, that's barely a burger, or it looks disgusting as a burger. That's a burger in Ohio. Like, it's that kind of.
Or counterpoint, that is McDonald's. There goes that sponsorship. That's my favorite thing that I always see Spotify tell us, their anchors, like, this is how much money you made. It's like, no, we purposely said no commercials.
Yeah, we're not doing ad reads. Sorry,
Why
somebody
they don't promote us.
somebody messaged me saying that they've been trying expensive instant noodles, and they sent me a link to one of them, and I saw an ad for or not an ad, but on their website they're like, try out our variety pack and try every flavor. Can you guess how much it is for 20 servings of instant noodles from this particular company?
And they're supposed to be like premium.
Yeah.
Trying to think, because I have a box of ramen over there, and I think that costs like $5 for like 20. And so I'm gonna go big and say this is a premium thing of try noodles. My heart is saying 30, but my head is saying like 45.97.
It is, if you subscribe, you save 10%, and it's $46.80. Regular one-time purchase is $52.
My head was smart to not listen. I could hear you clicking. I was like, I know I'm getting the link.
I mean, they sound delicious. And I've heard of this restaurant. I believe it's a restaurant in New York City. Momofuku? Yeah.
Huh. Do you think their noodles cost $52 up there?
I've been to New York. I actually went to an all-you-can-eat Japanese buffet, where
Ooh,
you went
that
to an
sounds
all-you-can-eat
fun.
Korean one. I went to a Japanese one in New York City.
What wasn't there something we were talking about last time we were recording about? It was like taking a field trip. Like, was it somewhere in Philly or something? We were like, something was happening. It's like, oh man, that'd be cool to go. And my brain's like, I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember what it was either. It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, I thought. My brain was like. My brain is thought we were talking about something. And it was just like, oh man, that'd be cool to go to. And then we're like, we'll see.
We'll always see.
Yeah.
But who sees everything in Gravity Falls?
I can't
bring
say
it back
his name
around.
because it's spoilers, even though they are in every episode.
Well,
Thus-
the other guy that says he sees everything going on in Gravity Falls.
Us, because we're watching it.
Gideon.
Spoilers.
Little Gideon.
well, me.
Yes. Episode 4, when we finally get to meet Gideon and kind of like a really big catalyst to the end of the show.
He is, the main lad.
Mm-hmm. He's not one of the important characters. Well, he is one of the important characters.
He's an important character. Yeah. You said antagonist, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I was leaning towards saying that,
Yeah.
but
My
not
brain
yet.
heard it. He's kind of
the bad guy in this episode.
Not kind of. I'm pretty sure he is. No, I don't think a lot of people, unless like you're specifically written as a hero, they can get away as attempting to murder a main character.
Yes, but
Did I spoil it? Did I skip to the end again? Little old me.
I rolled my dice.
Oh yeah, where's that?
We rolled dice to see what order we go in. I will not say what role-playing games we like to play because maybe we'll owe them money, and I don't want to have to owe them any money.
I lost my dice.
Did you have to pay your dice to the Hasbro overlords?
They can keep their stupid Keebler elf cookies. They taste like trash anyway. I have one.
That's not Hasbro.
I don't know.
That's Keebler.
They all taste the same to me.
Hasbro is the toy company.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm
Does
distracted
Hasbro-
because I had like 2 more dice here, and all I have is the 1 now.
Hasbro owns Monopoly, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I thought so.
They own Transformers.
I thought it was Transformers. I couldn't recall.
And Power Rangers and a bunch of other stuff.
Are they all also getting creative licenses?
No, but Power Rangers has its own game that I was looking into, but no longer. So, hello number. I guess I'm talking this week unless you rolled real well.
No, I rolled an 8.
Well, I got a +10 to your roll. An 18.
Wow. Take it away.
Did me now, free my soul. Did I meet my phone to rock and roll? Oh my goodness. I'm doing like meal prep and I had like salmon and my stomach is like, this was good. Let me sing to the gods to let everyone
Send
know.
my compliments to the chef.
Yeah.
It's like, it's me, I know.
It's like, thank you, stomach. So anyway, yes, this episode starts off with excuse me, Dipper, Mabel, and Seuss. They're all watching a TV show called Tiger Fist, which is just a tiger with a fist.
Yeah,
And
he went to get surgery, and they gave him a fist.
it reminds me of this game. For audio listeners, there's big parentheses around game that me and my brothers used to play when we were younger, which was No Hands Man. And No Hands Man was just me, like, putting my hands, like, inside of my sweatpants and just, like, chasing them like a person didn't have hands. And it was like, No Hands Man surprises criminals with hands. And then I would just, like, tackle them. And it was like, I don't know why. Fist,
that sounds
tiger
like a very
fist.
kids thing, because
Yeah.
like as when I was a kid, we would have the same, not necessarily the same thing, but instead someone was a worm and everybody else had to get away from the person, and the person that was a worm was like burritoed in a blanket and had to like inchworm to try and get to people. Naturally, yours was easier to catch up to people because you had your legs.
Yeah. Well, then we did another game where, like, my brother hated it. He was like, he was the bull, and so like we had like a cheap play like swing set and a slide in our house, in my house, and so like he would run down and he's like, oh no, the bull, and then we'd be like, oh, he's about to get us. We turn into a rock, and like we would just like kind of ball up, and then he would like run into us and just be like, wah! Like, it was very inspired, I feel like, by Spyro the Dragon. But yeah, so they're watching that. They're like, oh man, cool show. And then they get a commercial for Little Gideon's Tent of Telepathy. And yeah, they're like, dude, there's no way that's real, whatever. And Grunkle Stan is just like, no, can't go there. I think he was like, no great grandkids or whatever I forget what he calls
Great niece and nephew.
Yeah, great niece and nephew are gonna go
to his mortal enemy.
Yeah, under his roof, and they're like, well, it's a tent, so and they're like, found a loophole. Yeah, and so they.
Do I have something with a knot in it? Close. Loophole.
Yeah. And so they end up going. Sorry, I'm also. I just remembered this TikTok I saw where this person for 2023 made a poop blanket, and for every time they took a poop, they put another line in this blanket that they crocheted, and each color represented some sort of key she had for her blanket.
Her poops.
for her poops, and she's like, "This is my 2023." Well, it wasn't called poop, but yeah, it was like a poop blanket. I'm like, yeah, the few crocheting things I watched of Hop on TikTok still creep their way up in the most
into the algorithm.
Most strange.
I need a loophole.
Ways.
Loophole.
So for audio listeners, Hop has held up. Is it a rubber band?
No, it's a piece of yarn.
Oh, okay. Like,
it's just yellow shaded.
Yeah, it is the shape of possibly a rubber band, or dried noodles.
This yarn.
Yes, this
So
yarn.
you got the yellow bits from there.
Mm-hmm.
I have this yarn for audio listeners. It's around a paper towel holder because when I bought it, it was all tangled and messy, and I didn't know how to properly spool yarn, so I did it by hand on a paper towel holder. You live and you learn.
I also,
I made this one later. This one is more manageable and usable. This is a ball of yarn.
that one looks a little darker. It has a little less blue.
This one is various shades of green, but wow, it's tangled on stuff. Oh, no.
Also, mainly because I was looking over it there, and I don't know if it was the light was hitting. I have to ask, which is going to be totally off our conversation. But did you get your hair redid?
No.
Is it just? It's like I guess the light it would just hit it differently. Normally, like you're all aglow when we're recording, so it's like
From the window, yeah.
yeah. So, but anyway, back to the eps. Yeah, so they go there, and they're like, who could be Grunkle Stan's like greatest enemy? This guy's got to be super intimidating. And they get up there, and it's like this huge shadow silhouette is cast as they start playing piano, and then it opens up, and it's just this small, chubby little kid dressed in a blue suit and big old poofy hair, and he's just like, oh, well, me, little Gideon.
Yeah, he says, I predict that you're all gonna say on 1 second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he does very much his televangelist routine. It feels like that's what it's very close to. And there's just different things that like he starts talking about. I was reading the I don't know if it's continuity or trivia or something, but it was like, because it's my second time watching, I was like, I noticed a few things, and then they wrote it in there, and I'm like, okay, it wasn't crazy. I'm not the only one thinking that, but we can wait for that later.
Okay.
So yeah, he gets him up, and like even Dipper is like surprised, like because he tells them all to stand, and he's like, what a second, why am I standing up? And then like he's going through, and they're just like, he's like predicting different things, where he's just like, he looks over, he's like, oh man, I think this person really loves me, and it's the cop, the sheriff thing. He's like all decked out in little Gideon merch. He's like, how do you know? And then and he's singing it all to a different, like, this song, and like he points to this old lady, and he's like, you're waiting for your son to call, and he's like, it has been 30 years. And then kind of I think he says maybe like one more thing, but then he goes up to Mabel, and he's like, and I think your name is Mabel. And he's like, oh, how did he know? And like it turns, and her name is on her sweatshirt. Yeah. And so anyway, that all goes through, and Dipper is not impressed, and he's like, that dude's a fraud. And Mabel is completely different, disagrees, and excuse me, and then yeah, pretty much says nice things about him. And yeah, so as it goes to the next day, and they're doing their normal Mystery Shack things, and Gideon shows up there, and asks Mabel if she would like to go see his dressing rooms, and as the wiki here is like, so they could do makeovers. And even though Stan said no, don't interact with him, and I think there's even a line was like, there's not like a little adorable kid standing out there or something. He said some pretty much like, excuse me, it's Gideon without saying it's Gideon.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, nothing, don't worry about it, and then goes to hang out with Gideon, to where they do their makeover stuff, and yeah, she comes back to Dipper, and Dipper's like, dude, like something's wrong, something's up with Gideon, I wouldn't trust him. And then Mabel shares that that Dipper and Seuss don't like always keep doing boy stuff, but doesn't like bring her along.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what? No way. And then immediately, hey, do you want to throw hot dogs in a microwave and watch each one of them explode
individually?
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, and they run away. So this kind of fast forwards to Gideon and Mabel hanging out some more, to the point, I don't know if there's like another spot in this, but they show them on top of this old factory, which later reveals it's in their family. It's owned by Gideon's family, but yeah, Gideon's like, I never felt this close, and goes to make the moves, and Mabel, not so much, and by not so much, not at all into Gideon.
Yeah, I love the bit where he like goes and touches her hair, and she's like, no, and he goes to do it again. She's like, no,
yes. So, yeah, so Gideon was like, it would only be one date, and Mabel, like, okay, yeah. Which was followed, and like they hug, and like, I mean, he's like, are you sniffing my hair? I'm like, that should have been the end of it. Like,
she should have just been like, no date, like, no date.
Yeah. I also, there's a line earlier where Gideon was like, I'm not Gideon, Diff was like, I don't trust Gideon because his hair's bigger than his head. And I'm like, he's like, you never can trust somebody like that. And I'm like, I'm looking at it, and I was like, Mabel's hair's bigger than her head.
Yeah, hers just grows down, whereas all of Gideon's is pushed up.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I need to take a swig of water. Yeah, so the day the date happens, Gideon shows up on a horse and takes Mabel to their date to a fancy restaurant. I think I can't remember if Dipper knows at this point. I can't remember, but anyway, like at this, they're on their date, and like they're at this fancy restaurant. He's like doing all these different things to impress her, like. Gets the African macaw, or what, I don't know if it was African.
Yeah, he calls over a giant bird.
Yeah, which is like a giant parrot, and like I think like vomits like an invitation to something else, and
yeah, he forces the bird to like ask for a second date.
Yeah,
but the bird accidentally says like, will you accompany Gideon on third day? And Gideon gets all mad at it.
Yeah, so that happens, and like she's like, we only said one date, like this is the date, and then like the whole restaurant is like madly creepy, which there could be stuff that explains that. And just like, oh my goodness, is that Gideon and his new girlfriend Mabel? Are they on a date? Oh my goodness, who could say no to Gideon? And it's just like everyone's there, just like.
Yeah, I think my favorite bit is the little old lady who's like, I will die of sadness if you say no to Gideon. And the doctor is like, I am here and I can inform you that is factually correct. She will die of sadness if you reject Gideon.
Yeah. And so Mabel is forced into another date. And so yeah, they go and do that, and I'm like rereading through the wiki as I'm like explaining this, and she's like, I've never seen so many forks or water with bubbles in it. So oh, there it is, the South American rainbow macaw. So yeah, so they ask if she can accompany him to the ballroom dance. Doesn't want to go. Everyone goes, come on, what's going on? At the same time, I think this is when they find out that they're going. She agrees, and then it's in the news. Because I think Mabel,
Wendy, Seuss, and Dipper are back at the store, and Seuss is reading like a magazine that says like Gideon and Mabel, and then Wendy's like looking it up on her phone about the gossip of the town, because Grunkle Stan saw in the newspaper a picture of Mabel covering her face like paparazzi.
Yeah, as Gideon's just like, yeah. Yeah, and then he's like, did you guys know about this? And he's like, I think Tipper's like, there's nothing that I could know about any, like just kind of stumbles out like words. And so Grunkle Stan goes to stop that. Like he goes out the door, and then Sue says like the most off the wall thing where he's just like, wouldn't that be funny if that door was actually a closet and you had to come back in here and then go out a different door after he made that huge art thing? And they're just stare at it, and he just opens the door. Nope, that's the real thing.
That's like, the real door.
I'm like,
I do like his takes on what their couple name would be.
Yeah. I don't remember them off the top
Yeah, it was
of my head.
like Mabian or Geedle or like Gamable Gadidia. Like
Yeah, I'm trying
every
to
other
see if
syllable.
it's written in here in the wiki. I don't see
I don't see it either.
Damn.
Yeah, so
I'm pretty
then
sure if we went to Gideon's thing, his article on the wiki might say it.
I can look while
But, yeah,
yeah.
I can keep going. So yeah, they're going on to the ball dance while at the same time Grunkle Stan stops at Gideon's house and starts talking with Gideon's dad, and pretty much he's going there to say no, don't make this happen, and Gideon's dad kind of wins him over. Is like, just think of the business idea that we can do this and we can make some serious cash. And Grunkle Stan is a man of one thing, and so he it kind of cuts from there. Mabel comes home, and she's like kind of all stressed out. Dipper goes up to talk to her as she's in Sweater Town, where she's just all hiding in her sweater to share that, like, once again, like, all this stuff, like, everything just kept building up to where, like, she can't say no to him because everyone's expecting all these things, and it just overwhelms her. And Dipper's like, hey, I'll do you a solid. I'll go break things off with Gideon for you. So anyway, they go and do that. I think what is it? Stan comes in. He's like, not allowed to break up with Gideon. It's like, you got to stay with Gideon now forever.
Or you got to marry him,
Yeah.
and then has a Team Gideon shirt on.
Yeah, a very tight-fitting Team Gideon shirt.
Yeah, and then Mabel screams, and he goes, "This is just what happens to bodies when you get old."
Yes. Oh, I think that's what happens that causes her to run upstairs and go to Sweater Town.
Right, because she's confused already and
Yeah.
forced into the date, and then
And she's like, already like, I don't want to do it. And they're like, well, then don't. And then Stan's like, do it.
oh yeah, because Dipper's like, you don't have to marry him or whatever, and then Grunkle Stan's like, well,
You got to marry Gideon. But, yeah. Good thing that didn't make it back to her parents. But anyway, so they go and do that. They go to a restaurant, which I'm pretty sure is based off of the Red Room of Twin Peaks. But, yeah, so they're in there, and Dipper walks over, tells Gideon, hey, Mabel doesn't want to go out with you anymore. And, like Gideon's about to crack, but pretty much says no. And he's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Then they kind of run out. Mabel and Dipper are like, yeah, win for us. Excuse me. And we kind of cut to Gideon at home, and this little amulet, this that's looks like a bolo tie that he has, actually is a mystical amulet, and it allows him to do all these different magical abilities. One of them kind of being a little bit of a mind control. Some could be telekinesis, and I think it's hinted that there's other abilities that it could possibly do. So anyway, he has his temper tantrum. His dad comes in. He's like, "What are you doing?" And then
clean up this room.
Yeah, and then I think it's one of my favorite lines. Just like, I can buy and sell you, old man.
And he says, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. And just closes the door. To where we see a little collage of Mabel stickers or pictures, and it's like, well, that's creepy. To where we kind of now go to the next day, and Mabel and Dipper are playing with, I think, Seuss outside, and he gets a phone call, or no, the phone rings, and he has to go answer it, and it's to be determined. I did not put together that name until you mentioned it in the last episode, and now it's all I can hear. It's an amazing name. And so yeah, he kind of gives him, tells him like, hey, I want to hear about all the crazy things you know. Meet me at this place. And then, so Toby's just goes over to Toby and he's like, I did your dirty deed. And he did it for Sandra Jimenez's phone number.
So creepy. Also creepy.
Yeah, so this episode is, there's some freaks in this town.
Oh, and then the fun thing is Dipper mentioned like, oh, sorry last week for accusing you of murder.
Yeah. And he's like, it's all good. So, so they go and, Gideon pretty much is like, stay away. Yeah, pretty much like, stop trying to get in between us. Here says to stay away from the sea because of gravity falls. I don't think he says that. I think it was mainly just, why'd you come between the two? I could be misremembering. You watched it.
Oh yeah, Gideon's basically like, Gideon believes that Dipper is lying and saying that, don't date my sister, trying to force his way between the two of them, and not that Dipper is just trying to do Mabel a favor. So Gideon is like fighting him, and then I think Gideon kind of says like, you don't even know what you're getting into, and he threatens him and is like, I'll make sure you can never get between us ever again. And you get to see all the different merch made for little Gideon. It starts off as like plush animals, and then you see mugs and clocks, and eventually you see lamb shears. And I was like, I don't think I've seen a single lamb in all of Gravity Falls.
That's why.
And then I think they hint that they've only been living there like not long, because Gideon's like, what, you've been here for like 2 weeks at most?
Yeah, it almost feels like every episode is like a week,
give or take. Yeah.
And then there's some episode, I don't know, which I'm like, would that be the case? And I was like, well, no, because we're doing an episode a week and it's going to take us to October. So, but anyway, they go and do that, and still, if it was only a couple weeks, then that means there's been a couple episodes that
could be back to back in time.
Yeah. So anyway, while Dipper is kind of fighting an empowered Gideon, Mabel is pretty much like, Mabel's having kind of a moment of crisis where she's like, I probably should have told Gideon myself and all this stuff. And then Wendy comes out and I think it was like, did you ever have to break up with somebody? And Mabel is like saying everything, puts it together, and she's like, oh man, okay, I know what to do. Thanks, Wendy. Wendy the whole time is like listing off the 9 boyfriends that like she's broken up with,
and maybe did not break up with all of them.
Yep. And so like she's just in her own world, just like, yeah, no, and there's that one. As like Mabel's like, no, you're right, I have to go tell him myself. Thank you, Wendy. So yeah, we go back to Gideon and Dipper, where Dipper is definitely losing this fight, and because he doesn't have magic powers, and it shows up, and Mabel is like, she's like, he's about to like pretty much cut Dipper in half with the shears. At least that's implied. And Mabel shows up like, what are you doing to my brother? Gideon's like, I didn't mean it. And she kind of does a red herring, if that's the right term. Tricks Gideon, and somehow, I can't remember. It's like, they throw the amulet, and then they think they both crash out the window.
Yeah, so, like, Mabel pretends. She's like, oh, you're right. I should have known all along. I should have dated you. And Gideon's like, really? She's like, no, you're literally attacking my brother right now. So she rips off the bolo tie, and then she throws it out the window, thinking that's it, I think. And then Gideon runs for it. Or no.
Doesn't she throw it to Dipper? And then... Oh,
yeah, she throws it to Dipper, and then Gideon, like, tackles Dipper, and they both fall out the window over the cliff.
Yeah, and then it looks like they're about to die. Mabel saves them by quickly figuring out how to use the mystical amulet. Tells them, never gonna date you, dude. Like, dude, just stop being a weirdo. And then breaks the amulet. And Gideon's like, this is the last you see a little old me.
Creeping out into the forest.
Yeah, and so they kind of pretty much, and from
Gideon
there,
goes home.
Yeah, Gideon goes home, calls off the deal, like, because Stan is over there signing the documents. Gideon calls off the deal, which causes his dad to rip up the contract, to where Stan does the most Stan thing. It's just like, well, okay, and steals this clown painting that he had his eye on. Just runs out of the place.
His dad is like, no, you gotta return the painting. And he's like, catch me if you can.
Yeah. He runs, and then he sees that Mabel and Dipper are just kind of dead. Not dead, but, like, drained. Just on the couch. And they're like... And, yeah, he's like, what is Gideon going to do? Get revenge on us? Like, that could ever happen. To where we flash to Gideon, and he's once again proving his creepiness of making a little diorama play set of the Mystery Shack and of Stan, Dipper, and Mabel.
Yeah, Mabel's is very much like, oh, I love you still. I didn't know what I did wrong. And Grunkle Stan's like, I'm old and I'm smelly.
And Dipper looks like
his eyes are out of focus. Yeah. He's like...
But, and he's like, pretty much is like, oh, you'll see, boy, you'll see. And as he pulls out another journal, numbered 2.
Mm-hmm. Where Dipper has number 3.
Which means there should be a number 4 on Amazon. And then the final little scene, as they do the little end credit scenes, where Mabel finally gets her time with Seuss, where they bedazzle Seuss, which is a callback, I think, at the beginning of the episode, where she bedazzles her own face, and she's like, no one understands my art.
Yeah, she's like, I'm ahead of my time or whatever.
Yeah.
Because Dipper's like, is that permanent? And she can't blink.
That's I forgot. That's when Gideon first comes over, because she's like,
she coughs all the bedazzling on his collar.
And he's like, ooh. But, yeah, so they bedazzle Seuss, and he just slowly turns around as they shine a flashlight and becomes like a disco ball. And then Stan just is like, awkwardly walks in, looks, and he's like, you're all fired. The episode ends. But,
yeah, that's the episode. So then we mentioned some of the continuity stuff kind of as we were going on, right? Like Dipper apologizing to Toby Determined about the murder accusation the previous week. The thing that we forgot to mention is during part of the episode, Mabel is wearing the llama sweater that the wax head of Larry King was like, what was the phrase again?
If you give me a second, I can get it.
You can look it up.
Yeah. It's just gonna...
Llamas are the greatest warriors?
Yeah, it's nature's greatest warriors. So, yeah. There's that. And it doesn't look like we have a feature of the other guy that's been lurking in the background, which we'll be seeing in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
So... one of the things that I was talking about earlier, so there's a big commercial, and there's a disclaimer at the end that just goes by super quickly. And they have it written here in the wiki. It says, void where prohibited, no CODs accepted. The letter P in the word psychic is silent and used for entertainment purposes only. If unsatisfied, please return unused portion for a full refund. Side effects may include, but are not limited to, prosperity, wads of cash, fun at parties, tight pants, 6.2% APR, no money down. Psychic readings may cause a warming sensation in the abdomen. If pain persists, consult your your physicist immediately. Carla, I always loved you, but I never had the guts to say it. So they do that, which that was the end of the commercial. But one of the things that was also interesting, I was like, and I made note of, and then it's also here in the notes, is Gideon, when he tells everyone to rise up, he places his hand on his little bolo tie, and Dipper is surprised that he's standing up, like he's like, wait a second, why am I standing? Like, and just is really confused about
Feels
it.
against his will, yeah.
Yeah, to where it's like there's the implication that Gideon is using the bolo tie to have the audience stand up. And there's also the first time that Gideon asks Mabel out on a date, he places his hand on the bow tie and swear that it'll only be one date to pretty much make sure that Mabel can't say no to the offer. So it's excuse me. So yeah, he's a little freakazoid.
Yeah. And then and bullies everyone around him, like that poor waiter at the restaurant. Yes, Gideon, your feet on the table. And he's like, what did I tell you about eye contact? And he walks away backwards, staring at the ceiling.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I remember the first time I was watching, I was like, this kid is annoying.
He has a lot of problems.
But it's like, I think the second time watching it, I'm like, he's still annoying, but it's like knowing the full journey. I'm like, this is interesting. Like just seeing like where he all starts and what's going to happen later, which it's like, okay, this is a little bit more bearing. Like I can bear with this a little bit more than normal. So
yeah, but overall I'd say this episode is a pretty fun one. This one is a little bit more character introduction than it is, I think, lore building, because like you said,
a little lore building.
Yeah, but it's kind of like what you said, like Gideon's character does come into play a lot later, and like getting this view of his character helps really build like why he turns out the way he does by the end of the series, right? You get a lot of glimpses of how unstable he is.
Yeah.
Every time people are like, look, Gideon, and he's like, no, nobody tells me what to do. Even his own dad.
Yeah. That's a bundle full of other problems.
I can buy and sell you, old man.
I love that line. It's like I shouldn't, but it is such a good line. Like, what do you say? Like, literally, what do you say? And it's just like, and I think that's like fair enough. Like, it's like,
yeah.
Like,
and then even when Gideon comes back and Stan is like, can you tell your son to like stop yelling at me? And what's his name? It's Bud, right? Bud Gleeful.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, Bud's like, oh, he's just having one of his rages. It just is like this. We can't talk him out of it. I'm like, this isn't how you talk to someone who's... Do we get an actual age for him?
Gideon?
Yeah, because we know Mabel and Dipper are like 12.
10. He's 10 years old.
He's 10. Oh, okay. So that's why Mabel is like, sure, we can date. Because she's usually boy crazy, too.
Not this boy.
Not this boy. This child.
Another funny moment of this that I skipped over is when they first go to the tent. I think Dipper mentions like, oh man, it's like a weird freaky like a counterpart to everybody, and it's like,
oh, the opposite Seuss.
Yeah, and there's Seuss sees the Deuce, and they just like stare at each other menacingly. I think it's like the tent looks eerily, like the whole setting's like, oh man, this is like a weird kind of counterpart to the tent, and there's like they have their own Seuss. So
yeah, and the tent, I noticed it felt to me like a lot of imagery for your supposed favorite character that we haven't had a full introduction to yet. Yeah, because even though it's star shaped, it has a big old eyeball. Yeah.
He's the best character. He should get his own show.
Debatable.
He kind of gets his own show at the end, but anyway. But yeah, so excuse me. Yeah, overall, like, trying to think. I guess the other thing that kind of...
Is this the episode that starts with Grunkle Stan saying, "This is the magical bag where any money you put in disappears forever," and everyone's like, "Okay."
Yes, I think so.
That's one of my favorite ones.
And everyone's just like, "Oh, wow, okay."
Worth a try.
It reminds me a lot of another show, and I know I mentioned it to you before. It was a sitcom from the early 1990s, and from the 90s, and it was called Dinosaurs. And the whole gist of that show was it was before the Ice Age, and it was like dinosaurs ruled the earth, and it was like kind of dinosaurs had the jobs that humans have now, and humans are like looked at as like pets. So there's this whole story, like this one episode where they have a baby there, and they're like, we don't know if this baby's actually ours. It might have got switched at birth, like when we brought him home from the hospital. So they go to this pretty much Jerry Springer, or I guess
adjacent. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what a modern day thing would. Dr. Phil wouldn't be. Is Dr. Phil like the equivalent of Jerry Springer?
Not quite. I mean, like Maurice is still kind of around, or not Maurice. Maury Show, where the Maury Show specifically did like a lot of the "you are or aren't the father." Jerry Springer was more just like inciting people to fight.
Yeah.
I think Jerry Springer's Bodyguard also had a show that was in a similar format of very much. I don't know. I couldn't. Yeah. The only times I watched them, it was like a sick day from school, or if I was like stuck in a doctor's office waiting.
Yeah, I didn't know the show existed until I was like in my senior year of high school, and like we didn't have a lot of work to do. Like it was the end. Like we were like in the last couple weeks of graduating, and so they just like put on the TV, and like people put that on. I'm like, I don't even know what they're watching. But anyway, they go on this kind of game show kind of thing, and to find out if their child is really their child. And the guy's name is Solomon, and there's just this one line in there where it's just like, now there's been no deals between us, we haven't met, and you haven't paid me any money or anything. He's like, and the dad's just like, yeah, that's true, and he's like, oh, then why do I have your wallet? And he's just like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. And then he's just like, oh my goodness. He's like, no, I'm joking. Here it is. There's nothing. Everything is solid here. You can go back to your seat. And the dad's like, wow, that's amazing. It's empty. It's like,
it's funny.
I always remember. I'll have to see if I can find it on YouTube and
that
send it over to you.
Yeah. So to our favorite part of the Gravity's Falls. So, who would you say you were most like in this episode?
Gideon? No.
You go up to girls and touch their hair and go, will you date me?
I don't leave the house.
You leave the house more often than I do.
To go to work. You go out for more recreational fun.
Sure. I did go to 2 places on New Year's Eve.
Yeah. You want to know where I went for New Year's Eve? You're looking at it.
On a different podcast. It wasn't with me.
Well, not podcast. I'm talking about this chair. Yeah. It was like, oh, you gonna go anywhere for New Year's Eve? And I'm like, no. I'm gonna stay home. I had enough of people. Where is it? There it is. I clicked on the thing and I was like, I can't remember who was in the episode. I'm trying to think. It's like, wait, okay, hold on. What we're asking most. Oh, who were you most like? Okay. I gotta think through the main characters right now. Which
so you've got Dipper, who's just trying to be a good brother.
Yeah.
Mabel, who's stuck in a confusing situation. Gideon, who's taking advantage of everybody around him.
Stan, who's trying to get a deal.
Bud, who's kind of
he's doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, he's kind of just stuck with it. You have the many fans of Gideon. So you have
Yeah.
Toby, who got taken advantage of, or well, was easily manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
You have the sheriff that just loves him.
We have
Seuss, who's
Seuss
kind of
is
just going along.
Seuss doesn't. I don't think Seuss even knows that he's in the episode.
And then you have Wendy, who's remembering all her
Yeah.
exes.
Wendy's. The thing is like I just peeked at what the next episode was, and next episode Wendy kind of actually becomes.
Wendy
like,
becomes a really good character.
Yes.
It just takes a couple episodes.
Yeah. Well, it's just like there's been so much kind of buildup of all these other characters, and it's like we're gonna get into some like reason why Wendy is like cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like, so I know some people just watch that they would have been like, well, you'd be like Gideon because Gideon sings and you play games and can't shut up from not singing. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't do everything else that little freak does. So,
You don't build dolls of all of your streamer friends and say like, "Oh, I'm busy from my schedule today. I can't play. I can't make it to the podcast today."
no.
Totally not. What? Who does that?
I'm thinking, I'm trying to think of the last time, like every time I can't make it to the podcast, it's because I'm forced to do something else that I don't want to do. It, out of all that, because like I don't really feel like have I been in situations that Mabel has, like not so much the whole forced to go on dates, but have I been in uncomfy situations? Yeah. But I'm also super blunt and just been like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. But I probably would have to say, probably out of everybody in this show, in this episode, I would probably be the most, I feel like, Dipper, because it's like Dipper is just really like, hey, I'm
very factual. Like, this is what you need to do to make it stop.
but,
if you can't deal with it, I'll deal with it. Very just like.
He's very much like, I'll take the heat for my sister, and it's like, I don't know. I also think kind of a similar way of like for my own family. It's just like for example, one recent one is like my brother was graduating from boot camp. My one brother wanted to go but couldn't afford it, and so I ended up paying for both of us. And then originally he was going to say, I'll cover you for the Airbnb, and then that he couldn't do that, so it was like, so my, like, not to like make people be like, oh, you're so giving, but it's like I gave up my vacation so he could see my brother graduate and all that stuff. And it's like Dipper, I'm like, he was willing, well, he didn't realize he was, but he risked his life for his sister.
To help his sister, yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So then,
how about you? Who are you most like?
So I was thinking about it, and at first I was also thinking Dipper, because I can see myself where if someone I was close to was like, I don't know how to deal with this guy, he gives me the bad vibes, and I want nothing to do with him, I would try to be the person to step into that. But then I remember when I was 13 and I ended up being awkward wing woman for someone to the point where I was stuck on a Ferris wheel with someone and they went, "Can I kiss you?" And I said no, and we awkwardly sat on a Ferris wheel for the rest of the ride. So I think I'm Mabel, because I didn't want to go on this pretend date with someone, but I was stuck with it. And I've told this story many a times, but the reason, if you ever find this podcast somehow, I don't know your name. I don't think I would remember your name regardless, but if you find this podcast somehow, the reason why you didn't get a kiss from me is you didn't even play carnival games. You went up to a carnival game booth and went, "I'll just pay you cash," and let her pick out a prize. And I was like, wow, he's not even going to pretend to embarrass himself for a second. That little bit of the total lack of self-esteem, the lack of wanting to have fun. 15 years later, I'm still 16 years later, I'm still talking about it. Thank you for the content.
I didn't really knew that was an option to pay people just for the prize. I didn't know that was an option.
It was weird.
I don't go to... He sounds like a real Gideon.
We were at like one of the county fairs, like something pretty small, and it wasn't too crowded, and it was in the middle of summer. I think I was 12 or 13, and I was uncomfortable with it, and then in the first place, because my one friend was having a good time with the other guy, and then I was kind of just stuck with the other one, pure wingman vibes. And then one of the carnival game people were trying to egg him on, like, oh, you think you're gonna get a kiss or whatever? What, you have to win a prize if you want a kiss. And he went, I don't want to play the game, can I just give you money? And I was just like, I'm gonna pick out the ugliest tiny stuffed animal, because then I can put it in the corner, I've never look at it, and have no attachment to it.
You can just return it. Just give it back to the guy.
I should have. I don't know where it is now. I've moved out of that place many years ago.
Little you know, your mom is like cherishing it. It's just like, I can't throw this out. My daughter loved this thing.
All right. So then on the flip side, so not who we're most like, who is your favorite person this episode? I already know my answer. Do you want my answer?
Yeah, do yours while I think for a second.
Mine is the anonymous doctor. I, as a medical professional, can concur that she will, in fact, die of sadness if you say no to Gideon.
That is a good one.
Because he's so out of nowhere. I don't think if he does make a reoccurrence, I don't remember, but he's just very, like, I concur.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, like, the secondary characters, like, oh, man. Because, like, Wendy cracks me up of, like, she's not even talking with Mabel.
No,
and it's
Mabel comes to her own conclusion as adult, and then Wendy's conclusion is, did I break up with the last guy? Is that why he calls me?
And then she gets a text and she's like, oh.
Ignore.
Seuss has like some real good one-liners. Like that whole line of him going out of the thing.
The closet.
Yeah,
joke.
the closet. I don't know. Stan also cracks me up with his whole storyline, but I'll have to give it to Seuss, because I think every time Seuss was up there, it was just like, just cracking me up.
I thought I was typing in the sheet, but then it didn't appear in the sheet. It didn't appear in Discord, so I don't know if I accidentally sent Seuss to a stranger, but. If I get a message back, like, why did you send me the word Seuss? I'll be like, no reason. I think you're the only one of us that has multiples now in either of the categories.
Yeah, because I watched this episode last Saturday, so I'm like, let's see, I think I know who's who. Like I know McGucket's in this episode, but I don't remember what
Only
he does.
like a quick image. I think it's when the fireworks go off, when Gideon has that whole extreme display. Like, Gideon is essentially love bombing this whole episode, so that's a red flag. Because he takes her to a fancy restaurant and she gets stuck with a live lobster and she doesn't even want to eat it, and Gideon goes, so that was a perfect date.
To be fair, it could have been worse. Sharktopus could have showed up.
Yeah.
That's, from what I've seen, that is like a hard end to any date.
Yeah, but the one couple, the social media couple, went there, ignored all of the rules of it, and antagonized the Sharktopus.
Yeah.
So,
but then they died in a plane crash.
Hey, it was to Terracuda, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I still think I would have rather just gotten it done with and just had Sharktopus bite my head off.
You think you get away and you have found footage of Sharktopus, and then your plane just whoop.
Yeah, or it could have been an even worse thing. Like, they could have woken up and realized they were in a cell, and
woken up in Twizzler suits.
Yeah, woken up in Twizzler suits, and it's actually Jennifer Lopez being Mary Magdalene, just like, how dare you, and causing a different kind of religious trauma.
Quite the plot twist. But yes, if you're curious about anything that we're saying, we have them throughout previous episodes. Thanksgiving, we watched the Sharktopus. How many were there? Three.
Yes, three.
Yes, 3 movies, the trilogy. And then The Cell was from our, not this recent Halloween, the last Halloween's.
2021
bracket.
Halloween. Yeah.
Where D-Payne said, I remember liking this movie, and we both watched it and went, how much did you remember?
None. None at all.
The cool cinematic shots that are like few and far between.
I remembered
The makeup was good.
Yeah. Yes.
The monster makeup was good.
Monsters make the yeah. My brain remembered one sequence, and it's actually two sequences. It's the first time she goes in there, and the horse, like with the horse and
the kid
and just everything else. And then I just realized I remember her going in, which I guess leads into another sequence where she goes into the closet and just kind of looks out, and I remember her stepping into like the cupboard or something. Forgot the rest of the movie, and then I remembered that she was stuck in there, which was a really cool, like, interesting thing where they had to send. Oh my goodness, I couldn't remember the actor's name, but the actor's name that came to my head, if he was the detective, would have been amazing. I was thinking Danny DeVito.
Oh no, it's Vince Vaughn.
I know it's Vince Vaughn, but oh man, I would love to see that movie recast with everything, but just Danny DeVito as Vince Vaughn.
I watch Danny DeVito in like anything. Also, speaking of interesting casting choices, take a watch of the trailer for the movie Renfield. If you're not familiar with who Renfield is, it is the like servant of Dracula in the written text of Dracula, like Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
But I need you to watch the trailer and let me know what you think about who they cast for Dracula. It's at the very end of the trailer. Did you spoil yourself?
I think so, because I typed in Renfield movie trailer.
And it has the list of the stars.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
that's not a... Oh, I see. I'll still watch it.
Yeah, I didn't want to... We were watching the trailer because I am a fan of the written text. And Starter was like, do you want to watch it? I was like, absolutely not. And then we got the reveal at the very end of the trailer. He's like, we have to watch it. And I was like, I don't want to. He said there can't be a worse choice for Dracula. And I went, you're not wrong.
So you guys will have to do your own looking around there. I'm going to watch this as soon as we finish recording.
Which I think we have reached. We've done all the checkboxes that we do for the Gravity Falls episode. So thank you for listening. Catch us next week for another episode regarding Gravity Falls. You'll get another Gravity Falls fact. And
another conversation about an episode. And this time, what? Windy lore?
Lore drop.
Yeah. Bye-bye.